Minister Malarkey, if I could come to you now, in the Home Affairs policing plan, which will go to Tynwald this week, alongside the Chief Constable's annual report, under the banner Protecting Our Island, you said that a priority was to prevent and disrupt the supply of drugs to Manx shores. Prevention and disruption are quite different things, aren't they, first of all?
I wouldn't say they were. I think the way the police approach it now is prevention, because it's early intervention, and I think a lot of it is intelligent-led. I think if we could stop the drugs coming to the Isle of Man in the first place, you won half the battle, to be perfectly honest. So I think the approach that the chief has taken is the right approach to have, not starting at the bottom where it's on the street backwards. It's trying to get them before it gets to the street. Am I right, Chief?
The interesting thing, I think, in the last year or so is the progress we've made working with Merseyside Police and Lancashire Constabulary. We've had a lot of dialogue with both organisations, and we've also done work with the North West Regional Organised Crime Unit, which is centred in Liverpool but works across the whole of the North West of England and North Wales. We've made some real progress in our relationships with them, and they've done work for us, because ideally we want to stop the things leaving Liverpool or Heysham. That's where we should be. We're not quite there yet, but we are making progress in that regard.
Is there a fear, or perhaps even an admission, that the drugs trade can never be sort of fully quelled, or is it hoped that is realistic?
I make a comment, I'll have to put my glasses on to read this, in the report, which I think sums it up. Our current approach creates the environment within which organised crime flourishes. The only market is an illegal one, which by definition is run by criminals who happen to be violent. It's in their interest for the status quo to continue. That's the drug market. That could be interpreted as being fairly damning, couldn't it, of the situation now? It could be, but it is simply the reality of it, that organised crime supplies drugs, and organised criminals supply drugs to the Isle of Man, and they do it to make money. It's as simple as that.
But for every person arrested, for every quantity of drugs seized, surely there's another waiting, isn't there? Isn't it like
yes.
Isn't it an infinite battle?
Yeah. So when you use the phrase disruption, we will disrupt the market and disrupt networks, and we have been successful in taking down a significant network in the last 12-18 months. But you're right, we take that down and someone else seeks to fill the void, because it's a commercial market, albeit an illegal one.
And of course that pushes the price of the drugs up on the island and makes it more lucrative. But there again, we have courts and we have sentences which are much higher than they are in the UK as deterrents. So it is a circle, but we are trying to fight it from all directions.
One of the problems we've got, we've had such success that we've created problems within the prison service, for example, because the prison has got a lot of people in it, and a significant number of people in prison are in there for drug trafficking offences.
On a slight change of tack, referring back to the policing plan 2019-2020, which will go before Tynwald this week. Minister Malarkey, you said, "I believe that without taking further steps to secure our borders, we will continue to see people attempting to exploit our island's unique character for their own gain. Overleaf, working with partners to secure our borders, is listed as a priority in protecting our island." Would there be a significant effect to the importation of drugs to the island if the constabulary was in charge of security, both at Ronaldsway and at the sea terminal?
That's a very interesting debate which is going on behind the scenes at the moment, which I don't really want to expand on. But certainly we do have to make sure, and I'm going to use that horrible word Brexit coming on, certainly with an open border, if it happens between the north and the south. Here we sit in the middle of the Irish Sea. I don't want to see us becoming a simple target for stuff coming through the Isle of Man. But certainly I'd like to see more control from the police with our borders, because I think that's extremely important. We have to work together. I think we're doing that more now than we've done before, and it's certainly a debate that's going on behind the scenes as to we're completely looking at the whole situation regarding my department and securities and the DOI and how they run the airports and the ports. So this is not something that's new to us. It's something we're actually working on.
But just to illustrate the point then, in the fortnight before TT, we worked closely with Customs, and together we attended every single sailing during the fortnight. We seized drugs worth around £200,000. We arrested wanted people. We found travelling criminals, and our Customs colleagues seized a significant amount of counterfeit goods. So the borders are open, but there is more work that could and should be done there, I think.
Without asking you to comment on the debate that's ongoing, Mr. Roberts, what's the current situation at ports in terms of how they're policed?
Well, the DOI has responsibility for that, not the constabulary.
Yeah.
And without getting into the debate, I've made it very clear on a number of occasions I would relish the opportunity to have responsibility for both the airport and the seaport.
I'm going to come to a listener message which has come in, which relates to this. Someone's asked, please could I ask the panel, when are identification checks at the ports going to be introduced? And would this stop drug trafficking to the island and stop us paying large amounts of money to keep these people in jail?
Well,
that's
the difficulty you have is that we're part of the Common Travel Area, which has been around since the 1920s. So anyone can travel within the British Isles without being impeded. What would make a difference is proof of identity at purchasing of tickets. So one of the things that people do, and people in the drug trade do, is they'll turn up late at the sailing at the Pierhead in Liverpool or at Heysham, pay cash at the last minute, and they often carry drugs. And in the last fortnight, we've had 4 people detained who've been in hospital who've brought considerable amounts of drugs internally concealed. Now, these matters are sub judice, but that's the method by which they operate.
And it's something we've been looking at for the last 18 months or so, and I keep using that horrible word again, until we know what border controls Europe might put upon the UK, which under Protocol 3 will then fall over to us. We can't make decisions like that, although we are in communications, with the Home Office with regard to how we could do it. Personally, I would love to see IDs for everybody, but that breaks the freedom of travel, and that has far wider GDPR and all sorts of other things that get thrown at us these days.
So the whole political landscape on the Isle of Man's borders could change.
It could change
really at any time.
Absolutely, because nobody quite knows what's going to come out of Brexit, basically, and how Europe deal with UK, and of course how they deal with UK, how they deal with us.